Hey guys, are you ready to transform your mind so you can transform your life? Coach Myrna brings you one-on-one coaching and expert guests weekly to help you to grow. Because happiness is the progressive realization of a worthy goal.
Looking for personal growth? Let's do it. Isn't that the sweetest sound? That's the sound of another sale or another dollar hitting your Shopify e-commerce store. Nobody does selling better than Shopify. It's the home of the #1 checkout on the planet. Sign up for $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/transform, all lowercase. Welcome back to the Transform Your Mind to Transform Your Life radio, podcast, and television show. I'm your host, Life Coach Myrna Young, and sitting in the guest chair today is Johnny Fernandez, expert love coach. So you know what we're going to be talking about today? Love and dating. To be specific, we are going to be talking about how high value or high achieving women can find love after a heartbreak. So we're putting it in a little box today, a little niche today, which I haven't actually spoken about before. But we know that when we're hurt, then it's very hard to trust. And that's what Johnny and I are going to be focused on today, specifically, dating after a heartbreak. So welcome, Johnny.
Thank you so much for having me, Myrna. I'm so glad to be here, and good to meet you, whoever's listening or watching.
Yes. Happy to have you here and happy to dive into this conversation. All right, well, let me give you guys a brief introduction. Johnny Fernandez is an expert love coach with nearly 2 decades of experience coaching with his wife, Lara Fernandez. They specialize in helping high-achieving single women navigate today's challenging dating landscapes. Johnny's journey is deeply personal. His wife, Lara, after experiencing heartbreak and failed relationships, realized that if she wanted to create a lasting, fulfilling love, she needed to completely change her approach to dating. This new approach attracted Johnny. Together, they've now helped thousands of women learn this new approach so they too can attract love as well. Johnny grew up in a household of domestic violence, drug use, and dysfunction, leading him to be highly passionate about helping women make better choices in men. Their dedication to their work is fueled by their deep understanding of love, relationships, masculine, feminine dynamics, and healthy, high-functioning communication. As an educator, curriculum creator, and lead teacher, Johnny's expertise is particularly suited to helping women who are looking for love but refuse to settle. He helps them stand out in a crowded dating landscape and attract committed-minded, quality men. That's what we want. As co-founder of Feminine Radiance and Courage Institute, he is passionate about helping women create the love lives they desire and deserve. Very, very true. Awesome. So since we are kind of focusing on heartbreak today, Johnny, I want to start off by asking you, can you share some of the common emotional challenges women face after a breakup and why these experiences can sometimes feel so overwhelming?
Sure, absolutely. And just to provide a little context, we work with professional women, and so generally what that means is they've had a certain measure of success in their professional lives. And so when we experience heartbreak in the context of a life that is actually going well, there's several emotions that can come up. One is the one that is least talked about, but it's basically embarrassment and shame over like, how come I can't make this thing work? And who do I even talk to about how bad this is going and how much hurt I feel? And they're embarrassed about, hey, I'm rocking and shocking and doing really well. What's going on here, and that kind of leads often to a feeling of like, what's wrong with me. Now, a lot of times the most common thing is what's wrong with men these days, and we can talk about that. And what's wrong with the dating world, and we can talk about that. But the most painful thing is the embarrassment and shame can lead to what's wrong with me. And I'm gonna give you a spoiler alert here, ladies. There's nothing wrong with you that that can prevent you from actually having love. So we can talk about that. So that's one of them, is the embarrassment and the shame. And the other thing is simply the loss of what you imagined was going to happen. Because it's a natural thing to, when you're with someone, even if you're not married, you start envisioning your future. And so, and it can be something as simple as, you know, I'm gonna have somebody to go to so and so's wedding, uh, 6 months from now, and then you break up, and then you're going by yourself or with a friend or your cousin or something like that. So, but there's also just losses of those images that we have in our future, for our life with that man. Um, and in the context of what we're used to in our professional life is, you are in high school, you want to go to college, you want to go to a good college, you start planning your grades, and then what happens? You get into college. And so you kind of like make plans, work for it, and then you see the result. Then you're in college, you're like, I want to get a degree, then I want to get a job, then I want to move up. So you kind of can see those things happening. Whereas in your love life, you often don't see that forward progression, and it feels like you're just kind of wandering around, and that can be painful. And so there's the loss of everything that you're imagining. And as a successful woman, you're just not used to that. I'm not saying that everything you do turns to gold.
Oh,
I'm
right.
just saying that, that for the most part, it's not like you tried to go to college and then you just couldn't, right? Or you tried to graduate, you just couldn't. You tried to get a job, you just couldn't. No, you kept working at it, and that gives a little hint to what to do here, and we can talk about that. But those are some of the emotions: the loss, the shame, and then just the basic pain of just like, everything that you did enjoy about that relationship. And usually when it breaks up, there's a mix. There's some good things, there's some bad things, right? Either more on your end or more on his end. But there is just the pain of that. And when you're a teenager and have your puppy love, you think that pain is like, I'll just never recover. Like, can you just
Right.
die of a broken heart? I think there's a song out there, Mama Can Die from a Broken Heart. So we've all felt that. And then we realize, actually, I'm not going to die from a broken heart, and I go on. But that doesn't change the fact that in that moment, it feels like I could die from this broken heart. I can hardly breathe,
Yeah.
and all of that. So those things happen. And then there's the fallout of a heartbreak, which can be really multifaceted. You're showing up at work a little less clear, a little less sharp, and a little less confident. You're maybe doing some stress eating or stress shopping, right? Retail therapy, or kind of bouncing around to somebody else. And so you're with another guy, you're lowering your standard because you're not feeling so good, and you're just trying to get comfort. And those types of things, the fallout of that can happen as well.
All right. So let me circle back a couple of things there. One, um, you mentioned in your bio regarding the masculine feminine dynamics. And like I mentioned to you before we started recording, that I have had a lot of, even several, 4 or so interviews in the show, and we specifically talk about high achieving, high value women. And what the dynamic there is, a lot of times those marriages have a problem because the women are operating in masculine energy because of the fact that they're go-getters and they're successful. And if you're go-getters and successful, you're not in feminine energy, you're actually in masculine energy. So when we talk about heartbreak, what percentage of the heartbreak that you're seeing is caused by this masculine feminine dynamic energy?
Well, I want to kind of zoom out a little bit, which is that in our society right now, it's not your imagination that the dating world and relationship world is harder than ever. This has been proven by research and polls and things like that. It's never been more difficult. Now, there's a lot of different reasons for it, but one of the reasons, one of the biggest ones that we see is that we're in a society that is making efforts to feminize men and masculinize women.
Right.
And so when you do that, the whole masculine feminine dynamic is all, jacked up. It's not going to be good. And so you mentioned high achieving and high value women. And I want to make a distinction there because a high achieving woman is not necessarily a high value woman to a high value man. And in fact, it is not the high achieving that in terms of professional success that causes the masculine feminine dynamics. It is the lack of understanding of how to kind of like switch gears from high achieving masculine driven woman at work into a more feminine role, which doesn't mean you just sit around and you just be a doormat. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm actually talking about being just as successful. Like we teach our clients how to be as successful in your love life and use the same success secrets that you used to be successful in your professional life, but in your love life. But it really, what we see is that most women, professional women, they live in their masculine and then they try to put on the feminine like a sweater. And so they're like, hey, I put on this nice dress. I put on this lipstick. I did my nails. I had a mani-pedi. What's the problem? Of course I'm feminine. Look at me. But
Right.
that's not it. And so what we help our clients do and what is really necessary is that you flip it where you live in your feminine and then when you go to work, you put on the masculine just like you're putting on a sweater.
Right.
And that changes things. Now, that is much easier said than done because generally speaking, you've had decades of acknowledgement, recognition, and good things happen to you by being in that masculine mode.
Right.
On a day-to-day basis, you are recognized, appreciated, respected when you do the things that a high-achieving masculine man does. We call it the design of your life architecture, which is probably a little bit much to get into here, but your life architecture needs to be shifted because otherwise, that you said what percentage? I would say almost everyone. Almost everyone, that is the issue. And that has grown. Now we've been doing this for 20 years. So that has grown over the last 10 years, especially because over the last 10 years, there's been a big push in society to basically say that men and women are identical, which is different. Yeah. Which is different than, have equal rights, equal, all of that, equal value, but identical and that there's no difference. This is just not proven by evolution, biology, spiritual texts. Like that's just not, we're not identical. We're obviously both equal in value, but we're not identical. However, when you have that idea in your mind, then you start to look at things and you hear it in language, right? Like we talk about helping high achieving women attract the man of their dreams, not person, man. Because if you're heterosexual, you want a man, but our language is become so gender neutral that your thought process is a reflection of your language. And if the belief is that everybody is identical, then you're never going to be able to even grasp the masculine feminine dynamics, much less be successful with that.
Right. Hi there, homeowners and design enthusiasts. Are you looking to update your bathroom without breaking the bank? Wayfair is your one-stop shop for stylish, high-quality bathroom essentials.
Whether you're dreaming of a spa-like retreat or simply need to refresh your space, Wayfair have everything you need, from sleek vanities to modern faucets and luxurious shower heads. The best part? Wayfair offers a huge selection of items to fit every budget and style, plus free and easy delivery, even on the big stuff. So why wait? Head over to wayfair.com today and start transforming your bathroom into the relaxing oasis you deserve. Trust me, your dream bathroom is just a click away. Whatever your project, there's something for every style and every home, no matter your space or budget. Find all your home improvement must-haves, from flooring, bathrooms, kitchen, outdoor decor, storage and organization, light fixtures to faucets, all in one convenient place. Shop the best selection of home improvement online. Get renovating with Wayfair. Head to wayfair.com right now. That's wayfair.com. Wayfair, every style, every home.
I've been an entrepreneur since the early 90s, even winning the Entrepreneur of the Year award. But when I first thought of starting my business, I had the passion and the vision, but zero clue where to start when it came to selling online. This is where Shopify can help. Shopify helps you set up your digital storefront. Shopify is the commerce platform behind millions of businesses around the world and 10% of all e-commerce in the US. From household names like Mattel and Drew House to brands just getting started. Whether you're selling physical products, digital downloads, or services, Shopify has everything you need to launch, manage, and scale your business. Shopify is also packed with helpful AI tools that write product descriptions, page headlines, and even enhance your product photography. Get the word out like you have a marketing team behind you. Easily create email and social media campaigns wherever your customers are scrolling or strolling. And best yet, Shopify helps you transform your business with expertise in everything from managing inventory to processing returns. So, if you're ready to sell, you're ready to Shopify. Turn your big business idea into with Shopify on your side. Sign up for $1 per month trial period and start selling today at shopify.com/transform. Go to shopify.com/transform.
So yeah, that's very true. I mean, like I said, I've had a lot of conversation around this, and that's why I wanted to start here. One of the guys he said, that I was interviewing, he said to tell the women to put their balls in a drawer when they get home. But I like what you say, keep the feminine on and maybe put the feminine in a drawer when you get to work. But one of the things that I think is the main problem in this dynamic is because if you're a high achieving woman, and whether I'm assuming you got to be in masculine energy because you got to get things done. And one of the worst things that a person that wants to get things done is having a man that's sitting around and doing nothing. So she will nag, she will say, get up, she will say, what are you doing? You know what I mean? And that will cause the man to say, well, you know, I'm the man around here. And so it causes that friction because yeah, so it's very hard to be in the feminine and see things not getting done because
Right.
it's against your nature. Right.
Well, here's the thing. The woman is what we call the REN, the relationship establisher and navigator. And if you don't know how to REN effectively, you will actually be a co-creator of a dynamic like that, and you don't know why it's happened. It may appear that it's about the guy sitting around, but uh but what is happening if you go backwards in time, there's a dynamic that is created because if the woman doesn't know how to rent effectively, she is inviting in a guy who will be perfectly happy sitting around on the couch while she does stuff. And she will be pushing away the man who might be more masculine. But here's the thing, it's like a bell curve. There are some guys that they're just going to sit on the couch and play video games no matter what woman is in their life. And there's some guys that are just going to be go-getters. They're going to do stuff, achieve, accomplish, move up, no matter what woman comes in their life. Most men, however, are in the middle, which is they're going to go with whatever way she's doing it, because you as a woman have so much more power than you have ever been told. And the power is to flip that man's masculinity switch. And what's happening today is that most women are not flipping that man's masculinity switch. So the man is getting reinforced again and again and again that you can do pretty much nothing and still have sex, have a woman in your life. And so the woman is actually setting up the dynamic for that to be her reality. And so how you get into, like, one of the reasons why we teach our clients specific dating skills is because how you even get into the conversation with the guy and who you show him that you are determines whether his masculinity switch gets flipped and he's like, oh, I got to be on my A game for this woman. Or if you're just like common like all the other women, well, he's just going to do whatever. Because like one of the little things is men are pretty much going to do what you let them get away with. That's just the bottom line. And a good man.
Oh, this is good stuff. I love it.
Yeah.
Yes.
A good man wants to have a woman that calls out the best in him. He wants to have a woman, and not by pointing things out and stuff. There's a whole art and science to it, but he wants to feel like he had to work for this woman. He had to win her over. And what's happening now is women are doing mostly one of two things. One is you try to be cool chick. Oh no, we don't need to. We don't need to do all that. That's okay. That's all right. I'm not trying to be your girlfriend. That's all right. I'll be cool, you know. And so, cool chick is trying to just get along, go along, and then he'll realize how amazing you are. That's not going to be happening. I know it happens in the movies, but it doesn't happen. And then the other thing, though, is a woman will say, if I tell him everything, then he'll do it. And so she's basically coaching him on how to get the right answer. And that does not flip his masculinity switch. He knows what the right answer is to try to sleep with her and stuff like that. But that's not the woman that he wants to get married to. And that's not the woman that he wants to build a life with. That's a woman he'll sleep with and be with for a little while, or even get married to until a woman that he really likes comes along. And be in a relationship or having an affair or whatever the thing is, the issue is in both of those cases, the man's masculinity switch is not flipped. He's not called to be the best version of himself. And so you're not getting the best version of that man. This is why we see, like, you know, nowadays people are getting married multiple times and stuff like that. I had my starter marriage and Lara had her first marriage and then me. But what we see is that, you know, the divorce rate goes up each marriage. So it's like in the 50% range in your first marriage. It's in the 70% range of divorce in your second marriage. It's in the 80% range in your third marriage. And the reason is because the people think that it's the other person instead of looking at what have I done. And this goes back to what I was saying, which is, ladies, you have a lot more power than you realize. And, you know, some of these guys that are getting married second time and it's awesome. It's not that the guy became better. It's that he had a woman who brought out the best in
him. Wow. Wow. This is good stuff. I've never gone on that angle. Never gone in that angle. And we do know this, that it's true that a man, I had this guy once told me, you know, I sit around all day trying to figure out how to make you happy. But he was one of sitting around once. He said, I couldn't move. I just thought all day of what I'm going to do to make you happy. But that's not what you want either. But what I'm going with that is that the man does want to make a woman happy. And when he's doing something to make her happy, like providing what it'll love and all that kind of stuff, then feels like a man. So I get where you're going.
Well, that's part of the equation. If he does that, he has the potential to feel like a man, depending on her response to that. That's where you have more power than you realize. Because if you're like, well, damn, of course you should do that. That's not actually going to make him feel like a man. That's going to make him feel like I'm okay, I'm a good errand boy. And most of the time that's what women are doing. Why is that? Not because you're a bad person. You're having that modeled for you on television and movies and information. You're having that modeled, whereas the idea of acknowledging that man is like, well, I don't want to go over the top. I don't want to be this and that. It's like, do you want to be happily married in 10, 20, 30 years? Or do you want to win some kind of award for never letting a man know that you appreciate him? You know?
Oh,
And so being able to rend the relationship, we like our clients, they have men that want to break through walls for them, that want to like conquer the world for them because there's a certain way to bring out the best in a man. And just an ordinary guy can be like a king when the woman
wow.
brings out that best in her. And then he not only wants to do things for her, but he does do things for her because they have a really healthy, thriving, passionate loop going on. And we had one client and she's dating a guy. They're looking at rings and everything. But at one point there was one Sunday when he came over to her house and her car needed to be really washed. They had been driving somewhere where and he wanted to wash the car. And he said, "Oh, I'll she just happened to mention like, oh, I got to get the car washed because of all the dirt and everything." He's like, "No, I'll do that." And in fact, it looks like your tires need to. Da, da, da. So he's going on and he starts doing it, and she's like, "Oh, let me help." He goes, "No, no, no, just sit there, just be there." This was mind blowing to her because her whole thing that she was doing was sitting there getting sun, and he was busting his butt, washing the car, doing things with the tires and everything. To him, that was an incredible day of him working and her being
Yes,
relaxed,
that's
right?
cool.
And so, but most women's instinct nowadays is, well, I have to contribute. I have to do something here, right? And it's like, you are doing something.
You're
That's
enjoying it, right?
you're
You're letting
enjoying
him
it.
sit in it, right?
And then here's the
Okay.
key
Hmm.
is that you thank the man.
Of
You let
course.
him know how much you appreciate him. And you can get a lot of mileage because this woman, she's like expert level at this. You can go back to that day washing the car. You can get mileage out of that for a whole year. So what's happening for a whole year is that man is getting that feeling of I work hard for this woman and then I get respect and acknowledgement. And she's stacking that on other things that are happening. That man will bust through walls for her. He will do anything for her. He can't wait. It's really her that's like holding off the popping the question. He can't wait to give her a ring. And but that's not the normal experience. There's
No,
this
this is good stuff,
yeah.
right? I mean, there's everything in life you've got to learn because you're right. Nobody knows how to run. Nobody knows. I mean, you read some books. I've read the book The Surrendered Wife, and they talk about stuff a little bit of that, how you make the man feel good by, acknowledging him and letting him do the work and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, it's like that. This is good stuff. You don't have a book, right? They just have to come through your coaching program.
Yeah, they come in, women fly in to learn with us live and in person at our weekend. We have a Love Breakthrough Live weekend event, and
Love
that's where you learn because we're in an age, in an information age where we can kind of tune out information because there's so much. Whereas like before the internet, it was like, wow, information, that's incredible. Now all of us are suffering from information overload.
Lord, right?
And so I study, even though I'm out of formal education, I still study education. And what's happening now is the way we learn, because we're in this information age, has shifted and changed. And so experiential learning is way more valuable and impactful now than information learning, reading, listening, whatever, simply because there's so much. There's so
Right.
much information, right? Most people are saying that they're suffering from information overload. So books are great, by the way. There's nothing like, but
Yeah.
what happens is
You get information. Like I read a lot of books, and you're right. By the time I'm finished with one, I gone on to the next. I don't remember what the last one said.
Can't remember.
I know
He and
exactly
he did right. If you get stuck on something, you're like, wait a minute, didn't the other book say the opposite thing? But you're stuck, right? Because you can't ask either one of the books a question. Well, why did you say this over here and this over there, right?
Yeah. I try to retain a little bit by going back and writing notes. But if you don't write notes, you lose everything. You like maintain maybe 1% or something.
Yeah.
Wow, this is good. You know, I just did some of my wrote down some of my goals, and some of my goals is to go to in-person seminars and things like that. Because right, a lot of people don't do that because they cost a lot of money. But yeah, it's one of my goals, and I like what you said that experiencing things and going to seminars is now the in this information overload age that's one of the best things to do. So that's amazing. All right. Wow. I have yeah, I've learned a lot from our intro there, recognizing that I'm one of these women that don't know how to rent.
Yeah. Well, it's really an epidemic today, and when you look at the research, like more women are graduating from college than men. Women are moving up the corporate ladder at a faster rate than men. Obviously, men are still, doing fine, but the trend line is actually quite disastrous. And so we feel like we're on a mission to like save families and save society, kind of, because without healthy, masculine, feminine, husband and wife, man, mother and father, without that, the whole society breaks down. And we see that in society.
Yeah, that's the foundation. That's the foundation. And when you build your house on the sand, guess what? It's going to topple, right?
There you go. There you go. Yeah.
Okay, so that's amazing. Now, let's keep that concept. And we were talking about this woman that doesn't know how to rent, this man that just sits on the couch, or she nags him. In fact, it's really interesting. My daughter is married, and she's constantly having to tell her husband what he's not doing. I got to give her this, I'm going to send this to her even before it airs. And the last time he said to her, "You're just becoming a nag," right? Their marriage is not in trouble, but he's not doing what he's supposed to do, right? And it's not necessarily in the relationship. It's about his health. He's not doing anything to help himself. He doesn't do anything for
Well, let's say this.
personal growth.
They're both not doing what they're supposed to do, because that's just, it's like she's speaking English and he's speaking French, and she's saying, "What's your problem?" And he's like, "I don't even speak that language." So when you're telling the man all the things that he's not, all the areas where he's falling short, what that does is that not only does it not flip his masculinity switch, it slams it shut and boards it and nails it down. Like there's no masculinity going to come out of that, because self-respecting man simply cannot be nagged into being successful. He can't.
Better.
Now, a schlub can, a low ambition man, a kind of guy who has low self-worth, he can kind of go along with it because he doesn't think that much. But is that really the man you want to be married to?
No, yeah.
Well,
So that's not the right way to do it. But there's certain times when, anyway, that was their last conversation because, he works, he doesn't really sit around the couch, but doesn't do anything else other than go to work. But anyway, all right.
So that's the whole thing of the masculine, feminine, DM, and like all the women see so many different things because you're able to multitask. Your brain is literally created differently. Like in just one little thing, just to geek out for a moment. The left hemisphere and the right hemisphere. A lot of us know, like if you're left brain or right brain, a little more artistic, logical. Well, the connections between the two hemispheres, women have way more connections than men. So when men are like single track focused, it's not only because that's what we want to do, we literally can't do anything else because we can't look at all those things. And meanwhile, a woman will walk in a room and go, "Can't you see all the 10 different things that need to be done?" He's like, "No, I just see that my chair is right there. That's all I see." And so when we understand the differences between men and women, and we can appreciate that no one is better than the other, but they are different, then you don't think, well, you're not doing anything because you don't care about me. You're not doing anything because you're a lazy butt, you know? And you realize like he literally doesn't see that or hear that, you know? And
He sees and hears it. He deliberately has no motivation to do it. So, all right, but where I was going to, so let's say that's your relationship. So you were this overachiever, you got married or in a relationship with a guy that doesn't do anything for you. And when I say doesn't do anything for you, doesn't do anything for you, all the things that you can cross off. And then you said, I've had enough. So I leave. But that's not really heartbreak. That's just a breakup. Or what
with some heartbreak with there's some heartbreak with that because nobody gets into a relationship
right.
expecting it to end. You know, there is going to be some heartbreak with that. Even if you're mad, there's still heartbreak.
Still a heartbreak. We're not. Okay. But where I was going, a lot of these men, and I've had this personal experience, when they're with a strong woman, and let's say that she's a nag or, she is a person that got her shit together, then they go find the one that makes them feel like a man because she doesn't demand anything from them. So they cheat. So the marriage ends and there's heartbreak. So our conversation today was, what should the woman do? What do you teach the women to do after something like, the heartbreak? What are some of the things that what are some of the mistakes that they make? Maybe I would think that the woman would go in the next relationship and there she's going to say, you know what, I'm not going to tell him what to do. I'm just going to stew inside because she does see it.
Right. So that
So, and this is a multi-dynamic conversation here today.
Right, right. So the first thing in a scenario like that is to recognize that it takes two to tango, that each person bears some responsibility for what's happening. Because as you mentioned in that example there, he's not doing what he's supposed to do, but the other part is she's not doing what she's supposed to do. And what does that mean? Generally speaking, in today's society, women are more focused on getting things done than taking care of themselves. And taking care of yourself is actually your number one job. And I don't just mean mani-pedi. I mean your emotional self. Like if you don't value your hopes and dreams at a deep level, then you don't value yourself. And if you don't value yourself, no man ever will. And there's no amount of doing stuff that will change that. In fact, the things that you're doing are the things that are lowering your value and making the relationship worse because you're tiring yourself out. And if you're tired out and overwhelmed, overworked, exhausted, the one thing that you can do that he cannot do and he cannot get anywhere else, which is your joy, satisfaction, your what we call your magic,
Mm-hmm.
you can't access it because you're too tired, you're too overwhelmed, you're too exhausted, you're pissed at your boss, you're pissed at this, you're pissed at that kind of energy. So you're not bringing the very thing that he simply cannot, because he can get cooking, cleaning, he can get all that, he can get sex anywhere. That's cheap. That's not valuable.
Right.
What's valuable is a woman who knows how to speak to that man, what we call speak to his heart and lift him up. And here's the thing, you're not lifting him up because, he's great and you're not. You're lifting him up because once you are able to do that, to rent effectively, he will do anything and everything for you. His whole life will be about making your life easier. I've been married to Lara for 24 years. And my dedication in my life on a day-to-day basis is how can I make my wife happier? How can I make her life easier? And that's not because she's saying, hey, do this, do that, or whatever. It's because
You
this
naturally want to do it.
there's that natural thing. We have clients like we had one of our coaches. Her husband just bought her a electric Lexus. She didn't ask for an electric Lexus thing, but he's just like, that's going to be so nice for you. You're driving the kids around to different things. I think that'll be better for you. I want you to have a Lexus. Boom. She's got a Lexus now instead of just whatever she had before. And she didn't have to do anything, and I put that in quotes, but she did have to do something, which is take care of herself, not work herself. She's one of our coaches, so we're big on not overworking, but not overwork herself and and allow herself to be the woman who can have a man who will bust his butt, work night and day, and just get that appreciation. That's really women, it's hard for women to realize how simple men are. Often what we see is that like our clients really appreciate that we're giving it, like if you're working with us, you're getting a man's point of view. And so one of the things that women are like, no, it's more complicated than that. I'm like, I'm telling you, it's not more complicated than that. He's got a few things that he's focused on, a few things
Yeah, men are simple. It's true. They are simple. Yes.
not easy, but
Women are
it's hard for you to, yeah, it's hard for you to imagine that that's really all. Like we had one client who just asked a question in one of our Q&A calls where she was at some kind of a scenario at a dinner where there was like she did something and then he looked mad. And I just told her, I'm 100% certain that you misread that. She's like, no, no, no. We've been going out for 3 years. I know him. He was mad. I'm like, okay, here's the thing 50-50. Number one, he won't even know what you're talking about. Or number two, he'll be like, yeah, that was no big deal. That's exactly what happened. She read in his mind that he was mad, but they were at a dinner. He was like, no, I was just trying to figure out what to eat. That's it.
Wow.
He was mad. He's like, oh, bad. Yeah, it was.
Read it. Okay.
And that's happening all across America, all across the world, where they're misreading. And then if she wasn't coaching with us, she'd be like mad. Then she'd be talking to her girlfriend. Oh, yeah. And he did that. Oh, definitely. He was mad. Well, what are we going to do about that? Well, da-da-da. And you go off on this whole thing and you misread it. You know?
Mhm. Wow. Yes. All right. So that's, yes, that's amazing. All right. So let's get back to, so you have your heartbreaker, you broke up because the man cheated.
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. What is it?
Maybe he went with a woman that is soft and he says jump and she says how high. And what happens when you go into the next relationship? Because a lot of times when we go out of what we miss in one relationship, when we go in the next one, that's what we want to fill, right?
Right, right. So the first thing is also to recognize that I started this and I think I went off on a tangent there, that it takes two to tango. So what does that mean? We have to look at in the mirror and take responsibility for our part in things. And so if we're not doing that when we're having heartbreak, the next relationship will look a lot like the last relationship. Maybe not immediately, but eventually you'll end up there. Why is that? Because that's where you rend it. That's where you established. That's where you navigated it. And you're the Ren, whether you know what to do or not. It's just like if you're sitting in the driver's seat, you're the driver. The fact that you don't know how to drive, that doesn't change anything. You're still the driver. And so taking responsibility for it and not thinking that the reason why he's with her is because she's like a lackey dog. And, then I don't want to be a lackey dog. Well, of course not. Right. I'm smart. She's dumb. I don't want to be dumb. Well, of course not.
But that's taking responsibility. You're taking responsibility in that he couldn't handle a high achieving woman. So I'm taking responsibility.
No, that's a misread that's made to, like said, to make you feel better, but that's not the accurate thing, because it's not that he couldn't handle this high achieving woman. It's that he doesn't want to be in a relationship with another man. And if that's how you're showing up,
that's important. That's
how you're showing up.
That's true.
Right. So if what you're bringing to the table is, I make good money, I got a good credit score, I got a nice house. Well, all that stuff he can do. So why with you? It's the magic, the joy that a woman can have when she's well rested and enjoying herself. It can be something as simple as just doing flowers or something like that. But whatever it is, it's just having the ability to get in touch with what we call your feminine radiance. If you can't get in touch with your feminine radiance, you're just a dude. And if you're just a dude or a F buddy, right? If you're just a dude or just an F buddy, he'll sleep with you. He'll spend some time with you, but it'll just be until a woman that he really likes comes along.
That's so true.
Yeah.
That's 100% true. 100%.
Yeah. So taking responsibility in that moment doesn't mean taking blame, but it's like recognizing, okay, if I keep crashing the car, right? If I'm always at the scene of the crime, Maybe I need to get some new driving lessons, right? Or maybe I need to think differently about how I'm driving. And really what we see is there's a whole new skill to learn. Just like you probably don't do what you do professionally like now as well as you did 5 years ago. Why is that? Just because you're 5 years older? No, you put in time. You maybe read some stuff, you went to some classes, you studied, you talked to people, you tried to get better at it because you found it to be important. And
Wow.
that's the key. If you don't think that it's important to learn about masculine feminine dynamics, how to be an effective Ren, then you won't be good at it. And if you're not good at it, then it's like just rolling a dice hoping it works out.
Wow. This is great. This is great. Listen, yes, I'm sure that I've been married for 18 years and I'm sure that I'm doing it wrong.
Yeah.
Just got some staying power. But yes, and listen, I would definitely love to come to one of your events. All right, so let's talk about your program, the Feminine Radiance. I love that. Getting in touch with your feminine radiance and Courage Institute. What's the courage for? I mean, courage to go after what you want.
It's the courage to be different. It's the courage to live a different life because you're going to set yourself apart. And here's the thing, the man that you want, again, talking to single ladies, right? The man that you want, he has options. You don't want the guy who nobody else wants and you're his only option. You want a guy who has options. Well, then how are you going to stand out? And if you're doing what everybody else is doing, you're not going to stand out. If you're being the way everyone else is being, you're not going to stand out. So it's the courage to do something different. It's the courage to say, you know what? Actually, my relationship is important. You know what? Actually, me being the best version of myself isn't just applicable at work, it's applicable in my personal life. And so, like, we work with a lot of different professionals, doctors, lawyers. Like, you're not Dr. Susie, you're Susie who does this practicing medicine for a living, but you're Susie first, not Dr. Susie. But too many people have merged that
Right.
in their minds. And so the first thing is to recognize that it takes courage to actually say, you know, since I was 16 years old, I've had this dream of living my happily ever after with my Prince Charming. And that actually is still important to me. And actually, I kind of wish I could maybe work a little less or not be so stressed or not have everything on my shoulder. I kind of would like to have a man I could lean on and who would, I would like that. That doesn't make you weak. That makes you a woman. Like there's things that I want from my wife that I can't do myself and I don't want to do myself.
Okay.
And it's not things to do. There's a certain way of being, you know? And there's a big difference between a woman that a man wants to build a life with versus a woman that a man wants to just spend some time with.
Yeah.
And so the courage of the Feminine Radiance and Courage Institute comes from being willing to say, hey, true love, marriage, and family are important to me. Just that right there sets you apart because most of the time it's said with like a weakness thing, or it's like, nah, it doesn't really matter to me, you know?
Yeah. 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 Because a lot of women are single in their 40s and their 50s or whatever, and they've given up on it because they're not connecting to the right men. So this is beautiful. This is beautiful work because a lot of times these single women go through these relationships and it could have been one of the ones that they can be happily ever after with, but they did the wrong things. And the man, because he's got options, I think there's 2 to 1, 2 women to 1 man. He just moves on. But yeah, if you were able to connect to someone and show them that you're different and sit back and let them wash the car and love you and you I love your scenario, and you use something that they've done for you and build on it and make them feel, because we every woman should know at least one thing, is that men love to be appreciated. So
What
yeah, it's
there's an
important.
what doesn't really register most of the time is they need that acknowledgement, respect, and appreciation far beyond any number of
It's true.
times that you think is reasonable. You're like, I already thanked him. Yeah, that was 3 weeks ago. What about today? But the thing happened 3 weeks ago. You could make your relationship better by thanking him again today for the thing that he did 3 weeks ago and lift him up. Then you can take it a step more and do it in front of other people. So now when you're out with friends, you're like, you know what Joe did for me? He did this thing, da 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 da. He's so
Aw.
awesome. I'm so lucky to be with this man. That man is puffing his chest out.
Wow.
And then he's like, what can I do for this woman? Because when I do things for her, she acknowledges me.
I am learning stuff today.
I,
Wow.
or what's happening in most relationships is the woman is taking every opportunity to cut that man down.
Yeah.
And the thing you have to understand is that the world's already doing that. The world's kicking that man's butt every single day. He's going into work, and whether he's got his own business or he works for someone, the, the
Yeah.
the world is kicking his butt, and he's feeling like he's failing. So if he comes home and he feels like he's failing,
Feeling.
what's the use?
Wow.
What's the, right? And so when you mentioned earlier about women who are in their 40s and 50s, and what we see is every decade past age 30, us human beings just get a little bit more stuck in our ways. And so that happens with, like, temperature, foods, clothes, whatever. Like, I don't like any clothes that have tags that bother me, Like, so I could deal with it when I was younger, but now I'm just like, no, if it's got a tag, I either cut it out or I can't wear that clothes. So we all do that, right? Well, here's the thing. If you're going about your dating and relationship life the same way in your 40s and 50s as you did in your 20s and 30s, then there's going to be a mismatch there. And so we have to recognize I'm getting a little more stuck in my ways. And so what's happening is the past relationship experiences are more likely to happen in the future because you're more stuck, unless there's an intervening outside force where there's a change. Like physics, a body emotion will stay at, or body at rest will stay at rest unless acted upon by an outside force. And so, like for us, like we are that outside force. Like there's a whole other universe of learning and success that you can get to, but you have to recognize, hey, I played a part. I'm not saying that you're to blame for a relationship going south, but I played a part in that. What part did I play, and how could I be better at my part so that either with this guy, which is usually the die is cast and that's it, with the next guy, how can I show up as a better version of myself? Again, not putting you down, saying you're a bad person, but all of us want to get better, right? I want to be a better driver.
Hey, we're not renting.
Yeah.
We don't know what to do, and I certainly don't know what to do. So that's amazing. I would love to come to one of your events so that I can make my marriage better. So tell us about your website. Tell us about your in-person events. Tell us about your social media. So yeah, 'cause this is good
Sure.
stuff.
Yeah. The easiest way to learn everything about us is to go to our website, radianceencourage.com. And there you'll see all about it. There's case studies there. You can see when is our latest event, but you can also just sign up for our newsletter. And then we'll share information. We have special deals on the live events and things like that. But what we are not an alternative to books and things like that. We're a step up from that. Like, just like you're not going to learn to swim from reading a book, right? There's certain things that you got to go beyond the book. And usually people have tried those things already, right? Again, I'm not hating on books. Books are great, but it's just like, if you're not getting the results that you want to step it up. And yes, there will be the inconvenience, the expense, all of that. But mostly, like, coming to a live event is mostly an emotionally difficult thing, because you're showing up for 2 days to learn something, and you may think, oh, they're going to point a finger at me, tell me I'm wrong and bad and I screwed this up. And that's not what it is. Because we know that, like you mentioned, ladies in their 40s, 50s, 60s, it's not too late. Our oldest client came to us at 76. But she said, look, I've traveled around the
I
world.
like it. She's
Yeah, she's that I've traveled around the world. She's raised children and all this stuff. She goes, but I know that I don't have what you guys have. Just tell me what to do. She followed our plan. We have a well-proven path over 20 years now. And she got married in a short period of time, married and lived her happily ever after. But
that's
she was
good.
it was serious. You have to be serious. Like you have to take your dream seriously. We all know people in college that didn't graduate because they just didn't take it that seriously. You know?
They didn't.
Right?
They didn't
So
put in the work.
they didn't put in the
Everything
work.
got to put in the work. For
That's
every
it.
success in life, you got to put in the work. A lot of people think marriages are work. People think that marriages is just walking down the aisle in a beautiful dress. But yeah, marriage is a lot of work.
It's work. And what we say is if you now years ago, you and I are probably old enough to remember this. Years ago, there was a TV ad on for Fram oil air filters. And the mechanic said, yes, it costs money to change your air filter, but if you don't change your air filter now, it's going to cause you problems with your engine later. So
Right.
you're either going to pay me now or you're going to pay me later.
Later.
So the reason why I share that is because, do you remember that? That was a while ago.
No, I didn't remember.
Oh, okay.
I know the concept.
Yeah, for that concept. So marriage is a lot of work. What we say is the more work that you put in up front to be the right person and to be with the right person, then the less work it is down the line. But either way, you're gonna put in work.
Yes.
So it's very common to put in work after the fact. We're having trouble. Let's go to marriage counseling, that kind of stuff. But what about putting in the work beforehand so you can make sure you're with the right person and make sure you are the right person? That's what we say.
We didn't touch on it, but in your bio, you said that you grew up in a household with domestic violence, drug abuse, and dysfunction, and now you're deeply passionate about people choosing the right man. Because a lot of times we choose the wrong man and woman, and then we've got to play, fix it. But you're right.
Yeah.
If you choose the right person to hook up with, then you're right. It's not going to be as much work to maintain the marriage. But regardless, there's still work that you've got to do every day.
Absolutely. We have a saying in our community, we don't do fixer uppers. Yeah, we don't do fixer uppers. Well,
All right. So that's Johnny, this was a fantastic conversation. I love it that, I'm not repeating the same thing. I've had this conversation about love several times, but we went on a totally different path today. And I learned something new, and the listeners are learning something new. And absolutely beautiful. So your website is radianceencourage.com. When they go on that website, they can sign up for your newsletter, which you said, you have specials on the online of, the in-person events. Hey, I want to be on there. I want to come visit you. And where is this? You're in Arizona, I think you told
we're
me.
in Arizona, but we do them all over the country. We did one recently in Atlanta. We're going to be in Dallas. We're going to be in San Jose, California. We're going to be in New York. So we do them all over the country in different places. But we have ladies that have traveled from outside of the U.S. There's only one continent that we've never had a client from, and that's Antarctica. But every other continent we've had.
China.
No, we've had women from
China.
Asia for sure. Yeah, and Australia, which is rough, and like Brazil, southern, it takes like 2 days to travel to us. And anyway, we've had women from all over.
No, hey, but that is, but listen, if you hear this stuff, you have dreams, you want to listen. Happiness is the fundamental thing that everybody wants. In order to be happy, you usually need to be in a relationship with someone. So if you can fix your relationships, then you're happy. And you're right. Don't give up on the dream. Right? If you're in a marriage and you got to do the fixer upper, then do it. But you're right. It's better to, if you're single and you're in the dating world, which is basically the most of your clients, then you figure out what to do so that you don't suffer later on. And our conversation was supposed to go around heartbreak, but we diverted and we talked about the masculine and feminine energy. But yes, once you get that right, then you're not going to have to worry about the heartbreak and the breakup and all that, because you're going to have a beautiful, life fulfilling relationship. So
Absolutely.
amazing. Everybody wants that.
Everybody, and you know what? The studies show that the number one determinant of your happiness and fulfillment in life is your primary romantic relationship.
Yes.
More so than money, more so than
I know.
house, more so than an
I
out.
even have statistics. It's 85% of your happiness comes from that. Yes.
There you go. There you go.
Big number.
Yeah.
It's a big number. Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well,
Excellent.
Johnny,
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a really great conversation.
yeah, yes, I totally enjoyed it. And not only was it wasn't for entertainment value either. You put down some really good nuggets here, and anyone that's listening could see where the fault lies with not understanding how to deal with men, and because that's what we're doing. We're talking to women, and why are you not getting the response from the men that you should be getting? And listen, this is good stuff. So thank you so much. I'm definitely gonna, sign up for your newsletter and come out and visit, when you have an in-person event. It's one of my goals to do more of these things in the coming year. So definitely I will do that.
All
What is
right.
your social media handle?
The Johnny Fernandez on Facebook, and I don't do other stuff. I'm on Instagram, but I don't do anything. So, and my wife, who does more social media stuff, Lara, she's Dr. Lara Fernandez. So DRLARA Fernandez, F as in Frank, ERNANDEZ. She's Dr. Lara Fernandez on Facebook, and I think she's just Dr. Lara on Instagram. But if you get to one of us, you'll get the other one.
That one.
You can
Right.
kind of follow us. I'm a basketball fan, so you're going to see a lot of stuff about the Warriors, but I also put things about our clients because I'm super passionate about it and very grateful to be able to do this work and help women really create the life of their dreams.
Yes, I love it. I love it. I love it. I can't say it enough. This was a fantastic conversation. So thank you guys for tuning in to this week's episode. Today we're talking to Johnny Fernandez, expert love coach. And hey, let's underline that expert because he is definitely expert. So go ahead and sign up for the newsletter. I mean, not only, he's going to give discounts on in-person events, but I'm pretty sure his newsletter is full of information that you can use to help you with your love life and dating. Yes, I'm sure. And why have a newsletter if you're not going to have information on it?
Exactly.
So, yes, I definitely would encourage you if you're single and even if you're married, because I'm sure we don't know all the details of how we as women can show up as our best self and get the most out of our men. So, yes, thank you, Johnny, for being on the show. I will have a summary conversation, an article on the show page, which is myhelp.us. And I will link out to Johnny's website and his Facebook page. And also, so, you can head over to the show page if you wanted to get that link. But yes, love my work,
Right.
love what I do, love these
Thank you.
conversations.
Yeah, well, Myrna, thank you so much for having me here. It's a great conversation, and I really want to acknowledge you, the listener, for wanting to better yourself and better your life. And Myrna's a great guy to take you and help you with that. So I'm glad to be here, and I hope I've contributed something.
Oh my goodness, you dropped a boatload.
All right, all right. There you go.
I'm the first learner.
All
It
right.
comes through me.
Right on. Right
Got
on.
this. All right. Well, listen, guys. Thanks again. If you're watching this on YouTube, this is such a great conversation to, make comments and give us your feedback. And if you're listening to this on iTunes, we'd love for you to rate and review. I bring you expert guests every week, and I would love for you to, to give a rating so that the show reaches more people. Thanks again for tuning in. Thank you, Johnny, for being on the show. Until next time, namaste.